welcome back to Tab U. My name's Katrina. Today I am joined by the property twins, Mitch and Gavin. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And I'm also joined by Nick, back again.
Hello, everyone.
Today we are going to be looking at the short-term rental section. We're going to be discussing a couple of facts and going through the top questions about short-term lets and everything else to do with it. Before we get going, can I get you guys to introduce yourselves, what you do, why are you in property, why are you an expert? Let's just go from there.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm Gavin. My side of the business, I specialise in the short-term rentals and the management of it. We've moved into temporary accommodation as well, so still within the short space and the short let industry. We've diversified the portfolio just in case something happens to the Airbnb market. We've always got the backup. We've also got the acquisitions company, which Mitch takes control of. So you do the intro on that.
Yeah, my name's Mitch. I overlook all the sourcing, acquisitions. We work with different propcos, investors, and obviously do the legwork, find property deals, pass them over. I'm heavily involved in that social care space. To be honest, without Gav, I wouldn't have any monthly revenue. So he does everything like that. So he overlooks that whole short-term rental portfolio. And then we're moving into now doing more conversions, so 1 to 2 bed conversions, 2 to 3 beds, and splitting houses to flats all around Hertfordshire.
Nice. We always need someone bringing in revenue, don't we, Nick?
We do, yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been on quite a few times. I'm Nick Russell. I am the sales director of Tab. Been here since inception. I run the origination side of the business, run the sales team, had my hand in a few different areas of the business, but now solely focused on the growth and origination side, working with introducers, investors, borrowers, brokers. I've been here for about 5 years now. It's almost my 5-year anniversary.
You can tell.
You can tell.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't know if that's a compliment.
Thanks all for joining us. We are going to kick things off with the first fact. So in Q4 of 2023, there were nearly 1.9 million stays in UK short-term lets booked through 3 online platforms, Airbnb, Booking.com and Expedia Group. This was 18.1 million guests a night. 18.1 million guest nights.
Yeah.
Huge figure. That's huge? It feels big.
Yeah, it's mental.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially if everyone's paying a nightly rate.
Yeah.
You can imagine how much money.
Did you, when you read that, is that figures you're kind of, were you surprised? Are they sort of like, yeah, makes sense?
I think it kind of does make sense. A lot of people, when they think of Airbnb and short lets, they're thinking tourists, holidays. But when you actually break it down, you're working with contractors on, I don't know, big build down in Hertfordshire, and they're coming from up north. So where they're staying, then if they're in a hotel, they can't cook, they can't do their laundry. So the Airbnb market's where they're at. With relocation as well, a lot of people come into the country whilst they're buying their property and they're waiting 6 months to complete. So again, where do they stay? So again, I think the stat is high, but when you look past the tourism, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's different for us because Airbnb, if I went on holiday, I'd look on Airbnb, but if I'm travelling for work, I go on bookings.com.
Oh, right. Why the difference?
I just associate Airbnb with holidays or like nice villas on the beach. And bookings.com, you get the hotels, it's more corporate. And because we do a lot of the relocating, we work with film studios and the hospitals and contractors up and down the country. We replace that platform with our own properties where we can undercut it. If it's direct, if Airbnb are charging 15%, we can give you a 15% discount. So we're attracting more people. So I'm not shocked about those numbers.
Could I actually jump in? You mentioned film studios, and obviously in our patch where some of us have done. But let's talk about Sky Studios have obviously come in there. How has that market boomed, or have you not seen much difference since Sky built the studios, and now you're seeing more and more people come into that area, Boreham Wood and surrounds, seeing a big uptick in this sort of short-term market?
Yeah, and it's not just Boreham Woods. So we saw a change when they started building it, when they went into phase 2 for the car parks. It's just flooded with contractors, especially if they're not working in the area.
Yeah.
we need to house them, and that's either at the hotels. So part of our due diligence stage is speaking to those close hotels, Hilton or the DoubleTree now it's called, or
Yep.
something. Speaking to them, finding out their occupancy rate, finding out their demand, and undercutting the hotel, and then targeting those larger corporate companies. And the same in Leavesden Studios or
Yep.
Harry Potter World.
Yeah.
They're expanding now and building Marvel Universe.
Oh, right. But are people who would normally, because there's a lot of buy-to-lets in Bournemouth, are people who normally take the traditional AST buy-to-let route now going, hold on a sec, actually, if I can get 80% occupancy through short term, I'm actually probably getting better yield and return on my investment than I would be just doing a standard AST at low yield?
Yeah, we had that conversation recently with one person's got 3 buy-to-lets around the studios.
Right.
And they're like, surely there's more demand now, or I'll be able to earn more. My mortgage rate's gone up. Let me put on Airbnb and try and target the Sky Studios. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be vacant.
Yeah, correct.
So you need to understand the model and how to. It's not just put on Airbnb, fingers crossed, hope for the best. You need to be able to understand the strategy. And if you do, happy days, you'll make it work. Even £100 a night, you're making £3,000.
Yeah.
And on a 2-bed flat, 1,500 maybe, in Bournemouth. So you could double your revenue, but you need to take into account your cleaners, your maintenance, all the turnover, the small nitty gritty bits like teas, coffees.
Yeah, it's
all
much
your
higher management, surely, right? Because
yeah. But once you factor in all that, and then the time you allocate to managing it, for a buy-to-let investor, they probably got into a vanilla buy-to-let because they just wanted to sink money into something and just want that passive income.
Yeah. And hope for long-term
Airbnb is not
capital
passive.
growth, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I think
just
there
not
are
passive
management
short-term.
companies you can go to, but then you find that you're just managing the manager because they're missing something out. So it kind of goes in a circle unless you're educated within the space. But I think a lot of buy-to-let landlords around the studios, when Sky was saying, I'm buying your property for X amount so we can build, knock it down and build, then it got a lot of people thinking, well, if they need the space, they're going to need the people because they're building it for a lot more jobs. So again, a lot of people did convert the properties or just left them. It depends on the...
And then, I suppose, because I'm interested, because obviously what we do, how does that impact their mortgage? Because obviously you get a buy-to-let, get stress tested based on the AST. Now, if you're getting more income, are they looking at your new income, even though it's not necessarily guaranteed, or are they still stressing on market rent based on an AST, so they just have a standard buy-to-let? That's always I see the conflict.
You need to change mortgage.
You've got to change it,
You need to get a holiday-let mortgage.
Fine.
Holiday-let insurance. Everything needs to change to fit that class usage of the building. So yeah, it's a completely different setup. And then moving forwards, what the talks are is you need to get a new planning permission and change the class usage of your building to C1 to holiday lets or hotels for you to even be able to run it.
Fine, so there's so many factors that people just think, I could just switch it. No, you really need someone who's advising you across the entire...
It's a big
that
grey
will
area.
switch it.
Like there are no regulations as such. Like Airbnb won't come out and stop you. Like local authorities won't come out and do the spot checks. But for your own peace of mind, you need to make sure you're above board.
Yeah,
like
and also if you want the recommendations and to keep this going over a long period of time, right? You want your property to be mentioned. You know, all these things are ranked now, right?
Yeah.
And they get
and you need to look at it as a business over it's just a rental property. Because you are now running a business when you're running the short-term rental market.
Yeah, it's full time. You can't just sit having a coffee all day long, just letting it hit your bank account.
No, exactly.
As
And
much
it
as we all
heavily
like to,
relies
right?
on the reviews. The reviews are very important.
Yeah, exactly.
To get returning customers.
Bad reviews.
Sorry, I did say I'd segue us, so hopefully that didn't deviate us too far from the questions,
well,
but I think it was interesting.
Fact number 2 is that the number of hosts across the 3 platforms in the UK ranged from 289,560 in January 2023 to 358,940 in December. I mean, that's quite a big jump, I would say, in 12 months. Sometimes they list the same property across the 3 platforms. I guess that's just to spread your bets, right?
Yeah.
What about kind of if I was to list my home for a couple of nights because I'm on holiday, would I still need insurance and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. It's
Wow.
it's especially
BRB. just gonna log off.
It's down to everyone's got their own risk appetite.
Yeah.
But if you, generally speaking, if you're living there, you should have insurance on your own property anyway. But if it's only a couple of days, it's up to you. I would always suggest getting it because you're renting out fully furnished.
Yeah.
So
Don't want any damage.
anything could happen, yeah.
And if it's your own house, I'm sure you've got your own belongings in your house. Your lovely jewellery box and
Yeah.
yeah.
Good
You just
point.
have to think
Yeah, I
about
hadn't thought about that
where
one,
you're
actually, Katrina.
where you're going to stash everything.
Yeah.
Even if it's the matter of locking
Could just
a room.
lock a door.
It's easy to...
Keep
Take
it
a look.
secure.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think so? That kind of figure of 350,000 to put 1.9 million stays seems like a lot of people have a lot of property. Are you seeing that? Generally, one landlord might have.
One property may be 5 listings. We've got a property that it's a 5-bedroom house, but we run it room by room on Airbnb. So that one property will
Like an
generate-
HMO.
It's
Similar?
similar. Let's say it's
yeah.
an HMO setup where you've got a room and an ensuite and a shared kitchen.
Yep.
But if you go to a
Oh.
hotel, you're only getting a room and an ensuite and a shared kitchen, which is your restaurant.
Oh.
So we may charge £50 a room for 5 rooms, so £250 a
Yeah.
night, and you're still hitting that 80% occupancy. So you're turning over now 10, 12 grand a month
Mm-hmm.
from one property.
Very clever.
And if you rented it out as a 5-bed family house, you get 2.5 grand.
Yeah.
So you need to factor in those numbers. That one
Mhm.
house may be multiple listings. Some are just rooms, some are whole apartments. But yeah, I would say most people have more than one.
I
investment
didn't. Yeah,
property.
I didn't even. I could list my house now with 4 rooms and one to store all my belongings in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
a lot of people that get lodgers in do that. So they'll put one room on Airbnb, and then they'll just put another room on Airbnb. So it's still one host, but 2 listings.
Okay.
That's clever. Now we're going to move on to the questions,
Yeah.
and we're just going to discuss some key factors on short-term lets. So, question number 1 is: what are the key factors that make a property suitable for short-term lets?
I think the main thing's location. Without the good location, like, why would you stay there?
Mm-hmm.
When we're looking at acquiring short-term rentals, we see, is there hotels in the area? Because if someone's put a £10 million hotel, then you're obviously going to know that your small apartment or your house is going to work. Other metrics is transport. Why we always put ourselves in the customer's or the guest situation position. And we're like, if I was going to live and pay for this property, why would I come? So you just need to look out for the different attractions in the area.
Great. What do short-term let landlords need to consider when setting up? We briefly touched on some of it, but if you had a checklist, what kind of things would be on it?
There's loads. Funny enough, we do have a checklist.
How many is on the checklist?
There's at least 20, 30 points.
Oh,
But that will go through where to get linen, how you're doing your cleaning.
okay.
Are you relying on the cleaners to bring linen every time, or are you leaving 3 sets of linen? So you've got one on the bed, one in storage, one that's been in the laundrette. So there's always on rotation. About finding cheap furniture, because at the end of the day there is a high turnover of people, so your furniture will get damaged. Checklist.
Keys, multiple
Yeah.
sets of keys, lock boxes, things like that.
lock boxes, all your check-in, all your online platforms, all your back end, all your accounting, all your marketing, all your sales, all your repeat customer, your reviews. The list goes on and on and on.
Insurance.
Insurance,
Lots. A mortgage.
and especially if it's a flat, you need to check restrictions on the leasehold,
Yeah.
on the superior leasehold, the freehold of the building.
Yeah.
To see if it's not restricting that landlord's or your own property. If you're doing a rent to rent, you need to double check the landlord's mortgage, and the freehold. If it's your own property, obviously you need to double check all that. I think all of that prior to as well.
Yeah. And what about with your properties? Do you like to be on site and meet the person, or are you happy to just leave keys? Does it vary?
It's a bit of both. I call the guests, find out why they're coming, what the purpose of the stay is, how long they're staying for. I get ID, sign a contract, and if I'm happy with it and we've had a good conversation, I just let them crack on.
Yeah.
You put a lockbox outside, send them the code, and they do what they want. If for whatever reason I might get a bit of a gut feeling like I should probably suss this person out in person. They've said everything fine over the phone, but sometimes
Yeah, you just get a feeling.
You just get that feeling, so I'll go check them in.
Yeah.
But all our properties are local anyway, so we'll just walk down there, say hi, greet them, show them around, and just iron out all the nervous points that you're thinking of.
Question number 2: how does the revenue potential of short-term lets compare to traditional long-term rentals in today's market?
Massive. It's massive, especially now, because the short-term rental, I would say there's been an increase in nightly rates, as well as all your private sector. It depends on where you are in the country, but you can fetch up to 250 quid for a 3-bed house per night. And it's massive compared to the rent that you would usually pay for a 1-bed in our area, Watford, Hertfordshire, anywhere between 80 to 120 quid a night.
What's driven that price increase?
The hotels, and people just travelling. I think especially from COVID, when people are going on holiday in the UK, and they're worried to maybe go overseas, or it's more expensive, the cost of living's gone up, they can't afford to go overseas, so they do a trip down the coast, or just maybe they come down to Harry Potter World. And so
like Harry Potter, don't you?
we just get a lot of people staying there.
Yeah, fair enough.
What hidden costs are there, or what might be some of the hidden costs operating short-term rentals that, if I was a property investor trying to set it up, what's the biggest one that you're like, every single person I've spoken to has completely forgotten about that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's hidden, but the biggest for a new investor getting into the market is your online travel agency fees, like bookings.com and Airbnb. They charge 15% plus VAT. So if you're charging £100 a night, taking 18% straight off to pay their commission, and then you have to, if you're taking it through a merchant, take Stripe fees off. Then you have to take your cleaning fee off. So you think you're charging £100, but your payout's probably only 60. So it's small hidden fees like that. Cleaning bill is a big one as well. I think on average we pay our cleaner £2,500 a month to clean maybe 10 properties around here. So it's a full-time salary. So you need to factor that in. And I guess once you grow your portfolio, VAT is a big one, because you can't just inflate your nightly rate to charge the VAT, because you won't get the guests.
Yep.
So you're either going to have to swallow it or find out other ways that you can work around it.
Just going back a second, let's do a sort of medium rental, right? If you had a corporate contract, like Sky Studios, for example.
And like Sky Studios.
Huh? I like Sky, yeah. I'm a Sky guy. Don't mind any other TV providers either, just for that. If they said to you, look, we need a house for 3 months, would you charge a daily rate for that, or would that be immediate, like somewhere in between an AST and that? How does that work?
So there's different ways that I've changed the marketing. When we started, we were doing nightly rates. So say £100 a night, minimum stay 2 days. But now, since we've changed strategies and our time's needed somewhere else, I've changed the way we do it. So now we just work out what's the mortgage, what's the running cost, bills, cleaning, all the fees involved, and how much profit am I happy with per month.
Okay.
So say my bills come to £1,000 and I'm happy with the grand profit. So now, instead of charging £100 a day to get 3,000 a month, I know that I'm making £1,000 profit and £1,000 bill, so I can charge 2,000.
Fine.
So
and you're guaranteed that for like 3 months.
Correct,
so you take a bit off the top, basically,
like
to secure
engineering it,
the occupancy for a period of time with a decent contract.
You stop penny pinching.
Yeah.
And and be happy with the smaller profit, but your hands off.
Especially if the counterparty's strong, right? And you know you're going to get the money every single month.
Yeah.
Most likely they'll extend, depending on the reason for their stay or their comeback.
Okay.
But that way you target longer term customers as well.
Right. So you're going to get better than an AST, slightly less than a day rate. You're almost locking down some income to a good counterparty for a period of time.
Yeah.
For a decent enough profit that you're happy with.
Yeah, but then there is, the longer they stay, the more the grey areas are as they're developing tenancy rights.
Yeah, understood.
And if you're not doing cleaning...
What is that term, out of interest?
We'll save it for the next question.
Okay, sorry.
No, actually, we'll go into it now.
What's the question?
Well, it's about regulatory challenges.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got one more question.
Go on, I'm done with my bit, thanks.
How do you know if how do you assess whether a market's oversaturated for short-term lets?
there's a lot of different ways, but I don't think there's anywhere in the UK that's oversaturated, because you could. When we got into it, we were looking at Brighton, and you go on Airbnb or any of these platforms, and there's red dots everywhere saying available properties. But you speak to hosts there, and they're always booked.
Yeah,
and it's seasonal as well. So although it may be oversaturated when you're looking in the winter period when no one's traveling to Brighton, but the summer everywhere's booked. But then it will knuckle down to you're doing short-term rentals, but in those quieter seasons, are you able to change your marketing, go to the medium-term bookings and target companies and contractors and relocators? So it's just different marketing, different times of the year. I speak to people nationwide, and I haven't found anyone that said this area is oversaturated, not getting bookings, I need to change the strategy or sell the property.
Interesting. Okay, now we can move on to the question. What are the most common, question number 3, what are the most common regulatory challenges faced in the short-term rental market?
Yeah, literally what we were saying. If a guest overstays their short-term contract, then yeah, they can develop AST tenant rights. I'm pretty sure it's a month. Every month you need to have a clean, or every 2 weeks you need to have a clean to prove that it's still a serviced apartment or serviced property. I think it's over. Is it 6 months when they become a tenant? I don't know. It's between 3 and 6 months.
Okay.
Where their rights do change. So sometimes they will need to move out the property and then move back in. We put all of our guests on licensed to occupy agreements, so we've got a contract in place.
Okay.
So it excludes certain clauses within the AST contract.
Yep.
But most of the time, if you're doing the cleans and you're communicating, they're paying a nightly rate. So if they know that they've paid until the third, I don't know, for a month, then most of the time they do leave. So you don't need to have that problem. Because it's the same as if you go on holiday. You book a week holiday.
Yep.
No one books short-term accommodation in their mind saying, you know what, I'm just going to stay in this hotel until I get booted.
Yeah.
This just doesn't really happen.
No.
And I guess the other thing, going back to your question, is the planning. Planning permission is a big thing, just to make sure the normal residential market is still afloat as well, and there's affordable housing for other people. Otherwise, everyone will just put their house on short term just to cash up.
Your biggest one's London.
Yeah.
Like properties within London or Greater London, there's a 90-day rule. So you're only allowed to rent your property out on short-term basis in London for 90 days out of the year.
Is that to stop? Well, I guess as you know how kind of in Mallorca at the moment, there's all the protests about tourism and everything like that. I don't know whether that's based. Well, I've been reading a lot also about big cities in Europe kind of putting in bans on short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Do you think that's kind of on its way to London? Are there?
So London's already got 90-day rule.
So that's
Paris has got 120 days.
Same as Edinburgh.
And yeah, different cities are introducing it. Last year, they started announcing that there probably will be changes this year or in the next coming years with the short-term rental market across the UK, mainly targeting holiday destinations first. And that's when we started pivoting into the temporary accommodation. It's October last year. They said if you're running a holiday let, you need to make sure you fill your fire regs now.
Yeah.
Which prior to that, you could just put a property on Airbnb. So now you have to get all your fire doors, fire windows, all your fire systems, everything. So they're already making small changes. But if that,
so they are treating like an HMO and anything, aren't
yeah,
they?
moving forward. But I reckon it'll be the same as if you got grandfather rights for an HMO. If you've already got the license or you've already been running it for X period of time prior, you'll get those rights to carry on. But if you're new into the market, then you'll have to get planning permission, and the council will probably say no. Okay. And then that's when it goes back to the oversaturated, because you can't, with HMOs, you can't put, well, you probably won't get planning if you're next door to another 3 HMOs. And that's probably going to be the same with your holiday lets.
What will that do to the, well, is that a kind of, what will that do to the market, I guess? Because it's obviously going to, well, it's going to make the prices of holiday lets, short-term lets go up, surely, because
I reckon that the prices will go up. It will wipe out everyone that's not going to doing a good job, and everyone that's doing a good job is going to make good money off it.
So I'm a bit late, to be honest. Sounds like.
See you, Cowboys.
Yeah.
Any Cowboys out there?
Okay, that's good. And question number 4: what trends have you seen in the short-term rental market?
Very seasonal.
Yeah.
Summer pops off depending where in the country you are. Obviously, winter and the lower seasons will plateau, and kind of a lot of people do get affected with the revenue, unless it goes back to the medium-term marketing that we were saying. So on average, it will peak up in the summer. But if you've got the right marketing strategies in place, then you can get through all seasons. So it just goes back to
Like somewhere like national parks, would they get much more consistent over a year because people like to go to Lake District, let's start argument's sake, all year round because for a winter hike or this, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
like that, they'll get, is that slightly less seasonal?
I reckon it's just consistency.
Yeah.
I know someone that's got a place in the Peak District and they get walkers
Yeah.
staying there all year round. So I think it's one of those things where
Yeah, it depends what.
it's the area.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back to Brighton again. Brighton, people naturally go down to Brighton for the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that during winter. So that's heavily seasonal market, probably anywhere on that south coast.
Yeah, agreed.
But you don't really go to Grimsby on holiday either. So
You are.
Ever.
Question number 5: how important is technology in short-term rental markets, and what tools are you guys using, and are your kind of non-negotiables? Are you like definitely on? I'll let you answer the question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
technology is super important because there's so many moving parts to the industry and to even just one property as a short-term rental. So we use channel managers, which goes back to your other question, why there's the same property listed on every platform. The channel manager makes sure it's on every platform to hit more eyeballs, but it also syncs the calendars together. So if you're booking on Airbnb, but then at the same time you're booking on bookings.com, it will cross-reference them so you don't get 2 people turning up at once.
Clever.
You can get your cleaners logged into that as well. So I don't need to message the cleaner saying, hey, check out on the 1st of October. They'll get a notification saying there is a checkout, and then they'll go and do their job. So it kind of automates that. It does automates guest communication, email campaigns.
Contracts
Contracts you can set up as well.
you
Yeah,
can sign digitally on contracts.
Yeah. everything.
What IDs? Can you do
Contracts
digital
would be
IDs,
the doc.
checks?
Yeah, it literally does everything that you need to be able to get the guest staying and all documents.
Channel
signed
manager
and
will
everything.
collect everything.
Yeah.
And then we partner with a company called AI Voy. And I spoke to them prior to coming here as well. They said if you call AI Voy and say we're on, you saw the podcast, you get 15% off as well.
Ooh.
There you go.
Is
That's the first time we've ever had an offer, right?
Look at
A
that.
discount code
Cheeky
offer
plug.
on this podcast. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Can you
Put that
repeat
in
that,
it.
please? Straight to the camera.
Yes.
What's the offer?
Where's the camera? Here.
Yeah, that one will
Yeah.
do.
AI Voy. Mention Tab Podcast and you get 15% off.
No,
Um,
that's what it does.
Yeah, and AI Voy is a AI guest communication. So it's a WhatsApp number that you'll get as a guest instead of contacting the host. AI Voy, it speaks 100 languages.
Oh,
You can
wow.
be from anywhere. You can message it from anywhere. From what's the Wi-Fi password, and it will tell you the Wi-Fi password. What's the best pizza place in the area? It will give you the top best 5 pizza places from the internet. So it's like your host and a tour guide in your pocket at all times whilst you're staying at the
Going
property.
beyond just
Nice.
the simple,
Yeah.
like,
Which means
letting
that I
you
don't
in.
need to constantly be,
Yeah.
well, Gav would constantly replying to guests at all hours of the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they hit a hurdle and the roof's come flying off the house, you can get through to a human, but it cuts out a lot of your day to day.
Cool. Thank you for that. That was cool.
Yeah. I'm going to have to cut that bit out as well. Well, as in leave it in, but make a little.
Yeah, make it its own,
Oh, yeah.
make it its own
Oh.
segment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I've got one more official question, but I've got some other questions I want to ask. But question number 6 is: what advice would you give someone considering investing in short-term rentals?
I guess you just need to know the ins and outs of the industry before you take action. Taking action is a big thing, but you need to be educated before you go into it. Because as we mentioned, there's so many moving parts to it that if you forget to factor in one number, then it could wipe out your whole profit.
Yeah.
Or maybe put you in negative. And location. Just we're Watford, so we just stayed local because we know if a guest before we moved to AI Voy, if a guest couldn't find the keys or they had a question, then we would have to go there in person. So starting out, you probably will want to do it as close to home as possible because you're the manager. It's not just Airbnb, let me carry on with my 9 to 5. It does turn into a job.
But it's the same with any investment. You need to do your due diligence and understand the industry, and that can go down to a buy-to-let, to an HMO, to short-term rentals, to anything outside the property industry as well. Just make sure you're educated in that sector you want to invest in.
I've got another question. I would like to ask to hear some horror stories on your, if you have any, or if you've been party to a horror story on short-term rentals.
Depends how bad you want to go.
I want, like, what's the usual,
No, I want the worst.
The usual or
put
the
people
the
off.
No,
worst?
I want the usual, and then I want the worst. Like, you kind of thought you'd
Horror,
walked into the room.
usual, which isn't a horror story, is more of a pain in the arse when people just come up and lose keys and damage the property, or write on the walls, get home drunk in the middle of the night, and just do stupid shit.
Yeah,
Stupid stuff.
yeah.
That's fine. Can swear on here.
No, you can. Cool. That will lead into the actual horror story. Then there'll be a lot of swearing.
And then,
And then the middle stage is prostitution. Happens a lot.
I'm not allowed to swear. That's quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
didn't
it's one of
think of
those
that.
things where they say yes and everything they say on the phone ticks the boxes because they say they're working, they say they're making money, but you're not, because you're not vetting them and getting them on through a referencing process as such. You're just doing your basic stuff.
Yeah.
They talk their way through it. They get there. We've had people knock on the neighbour's door before, and the neighbour called us the next day saying it was 2 o'clock in the morning. They asked, where can I buy weed? Where's the local bottle shop? And then they're just hanging outside the property. So I guess that is
They pay
very
well, though.
neighbourly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay well, ask no questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the worst thing was we've had people arrested at the property. We found about 50 grand worth of heroin shoved down the back of the toilet because then it leaks and flooded the whole house out.
My God.
Loads of crack. Like, it was bad.
Yeah,
So
that's-
that is
that-
a horror
It was a
story.
big Hertfordshire County bust from our
They arrested
County
52
line bus.
people.
Really?
Yeah.
straight from our property. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
It was
my
nuts.
gosh.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was in the papers. You probably skimmed past it online or the papers. It was quite big. It was a few months back.
Whoa. And what kind of did they
we-
come and ask you questions and stuff like that?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
basically started because this is the one that we went room by room, and downstairs one of the rooms was leaking from the ceiling. So I went upstairs, the shower wasn't leaking, nothing was leaking. I was like, it's just strange. So I went back downstairs, and from the fire alarm, it was a bit yellow. There wasn't water, so I went to the toilet and lifted up. It was just everywhere. So then the police turned up. He got arrested. We had to do our part of the investigation.
Statements and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it just turned into a quick, why is it leaking? 5-minute job to wipe out the whole day.
Gosh,
Jeez.
that is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Pretty cool though.
But then we've
Yeah.
had someone. I don't really know his background, but he wasn't playing with the full deck of cards. He booked 2 days, but what we didn't realise when we were doing a discount, we didn't realise that all the discounts stack. So he actually booked a property for like 40 quid a night. Because if you book on the mobile phone, you get like 20% off, and then we run a discount on top of that. So then they got 35% off, and then they got it for like 40 quid a night, which is cheap for a homeless man to book, and it's still affordable. So he booked it. We did an inspection because we got complaints. That the bed was drenched in piss.
Oh God.
And we were like, mate, you're gonna have to leave. Like, it's not acceptable. Like, in a hotel wouldn't be acceptable either.
Yeah.
And he just threw a fit. He was like, I'm
Oh,
staying
no.
put. He sat on the bed with all his stuff.
Tried to squat basically, and then
and he wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
Oh, my
So
God.
we were like, the next step
Yeah,
would be
squatter's
calling.
right's got to be a problem for you guys if people just don't want to leave.
The police don't do too
Yeah.
much about it.
No, they don't.
The only reason they came straight away is because we spoke to the police. We were like, what should we do? They were like, if you don't assault him, but if you pick him up from the
Sorry, that was my
armpits-
first point of call. Is just,
Yeah, from the arm. Okay.
Yeah, so you're helping him out the house.
Okay.
Perfectly acceptable. We were like, are you sure? He was
If you
like, yeah,
drag
that's fine.
him by his hair, then that might be a
Yeah.
problem.
So we did that, lifted him up, pushed him out the front door. Happy days, done. Next thing you know, police, blues and twos coming in. This guy's outside saying that we sexually assaulted him. You squeeze my dick, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
And then they tried to turn it around on us for sexual assault because we picked him up
Oh
and moved
my
him out.
gosh.
Just luckily we have cameras all over it.
Yeah.
So we can prove it.
Gosh.
So that's one of the horror
that's
stories.
crazy.
Yeah, that is
that's
a horror
pretty bad.
story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Still a great business to get into, though.
Yeah. Wow. What percentage of the properties is like that?
Oh, it's very
Rare.
Yeah. This probably happens. Those kind of it's actually probably those 2 or 3 stories out of the last couple of years.
Wow.
Wow.
Fun. Well, not fun, but interesting. Cool. Any more questions from you, Nick?
No, I don't think so. I think we've kind of covered everything. It's been great. It's been really interesting. Yeah.
Mitch, Gav, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Nick,
Thank
for
you.
joining us as well.
No
and
problem.
thanks to all of our listeners. Before we go, where can they find you guys?
On Instagram at the Property Twins.
Yeah, I will leave all information in the show notes below, as well as the offer. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.